All right, I'd like to call the meeting of the Miami Valley Communications Council on May 15, 2017 to order, and ask that you all stand for the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon. We'll start today's meeting with introductions. Mr. Stevens, if you could start.
Rob Stevens, Oakwood City Council.
Amy Shrimp, Kettering City Council.
George Bayless, Board of Education for Kettering.
Okay, Joe Wanamaker, City Kettering Council.
Brian Humphries, Executive Director.
Jim Bowers, City of West Carrollton Council.
Michael Kuhn, Germantown City Council.
Jim McGuire, Moraine City Council.
Greg Thompson, Miamisburg City Council.
Brooks Compton, City of Centerville Mayor.
Thank you very much. In your packet that you received, we have the minutes of the April 19, 2017 meetings. Are there any additions or corrections?
I move that we adopt the April 2017 minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the meetings of April 19, 2017. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The meeting minutes are approved. The chair has no report today. Under GovTech, Mr. Humphries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the next few minutes, I'm going to be talking about something we have discussed in the past. I just want to take one effort here to kind of consolidate some previous discussions, because we are getting to that point where soon action will need to be taken. And as I said, as I previously reported, GovTech has been pursuing a fiber optic construction project to create a 40-plus mile fiber optic loop that would permit high-speed data and technology service sharing between the government centers of 7 of the 8 MVCC cities, as well as other strategic locations. We say 7 out of 8 because due to the Germantown geographic issues, we'll come up with a different service plan for them in the near future. The estimated timeline for this particular project, though, is to begin construction sometime next year and to finish before the end of 2018. The network will benefit the MVC City member cities by creating the infrastructure needed to reduce the cost and complexity of regional data sharing or technology sharing projects. I always have trouble with that word. MVCC itself will negotiate and purchase internet service to be shared amongst the connected cities to provide faster service and diverse, redundant internet more cost effectively than each city obtaining internet service separately. As currently planned, the cities of Centerville, Kettering, Moraine, and Oakwood would contribute about 22.9 miles of existing unused city-owned fiber towards the project. And again, that's there is fiber in those areas, but when you put the fiber in, you usually install extra. So we're going to be utilizing that portion of the fiber that's currently not used by the cities. 16.9 miles of new fiber optic would be constructed, and 10.3 miles of fiber would be acquired via a fiber trade with a private business. And again, it's the same way that when you put fiber in, you always put in extra, and we're going to trade out some of that we build with some that's already in existence in another fiber line. Whenever the new fiber is constructed, a portion of the individual fiber strands would be turned over to the local municipality for its own purposes, such as building-to-building connectivity, which can reduce existing costs or provide better technology services without increasing costs. The remainder of the fiber would be used by MVCC for the regional network. Participating MVCC members would share in the initial cost of the project. When this process first got underway, the initial cost was estimated at almost $3 million. But the efforts to find new partners and the build out of new fiber lines adjacent to the project area has reduced that initial cost to an estimated $850,000. This cost can be further reduced by up to $300,000 pending commitments from potential partners such as the Kettering School District, Centerville City Schools, and Washington Township, each of which desire to have their own facilities connected by fiber optic. By splitting the cost of fiber construction where two or more entities share a need for fiber along the same route. MVCC intends to submit an application for a $500,000 loan repayable over the next 10 years at 0% interest during the next State of Ohio Local Government Innovation Fund program funding round in order to spread the remaining cost over several years. Once built, the management of the network would be overseen by MVCC, who would then be tasked with administrative functions including negotiation of contracts for fiber cable repair, technical network management, and purchase of aggregate internet service. Ongoing operation of the network would be funded by member cities via MVCC. The initial scope of the project is to focus on meeting needs of the cities. However, with a foundation in place, cities would be well positioned to offer access to the network to other local government entities, nonprofits, and area businesses in order to reduce operating costs, generate revenue for MVCC member cities, or assist in economic development efforts. There are a few details that still need to be finalized, such as who will be partnering with us on this project, how the cost share should be broken down between the communities, and how the ownership of the broadband fiber network should be established. Also, the LGIF program funding and therefore application deadlines are still up in the air, as the state legislature is still debating their biennial budget bill. Because of these uncertainties, the resolution we anticipate submitting to the council, which would authorize the application for the funding, has not been placed on the May council meeting agenda. However, there is a strong possibility that the LGIF program application deadline will be set prior to the September meeting of the council. Therefore, we may be asking for a July or August meeting of the council to authorize an application if the need arises. Otherwise, we'll be back in September to ask for that permission. Are
I've
there
got
any
a
questions?
question.
Yes, sir.
We know how fast things are changing in this field, and I haven't seen any slowdown. Has anybody seen any? Would this last 10 years, 15 years, 20? What, is there any
Well,
study on that, any guess?
We're guessing that 10 years would be the initial value of that
Okay.
line, and then at 10 years, it will last for longer than that, but in 10 years, how much more need will be there?
Well, you need to.
There may have to be an addition at that point to upgrade the system.
Okay.
But, that's something to be seen.
So that's been thought about?
Yes, we are.
In the planning?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
but the initial lifespan is considered to be at least
Well,
10
that was my
years.
real question, just to remind everybody that what we got on our desk today is gonna be what we have on there if we're alive 5 days, 5 years from now, so.
But I'll get to you just a second, Amy. Just to answer that question also a little further, to understand the jump that we're making here with this program, the internet service will be at 1 gig,
Okay.
1 gigabyte speed. And while that's not unheard of, the average Time Warner service is 20 megabytes,
Yeah.
which is 1/20th of that.
Which is plenty for me, but not for a city
Right.
or a school district.
It's not 1/20th, it's 1/50th.
Yeah.
Math in my head isn't what it used to be.
Nobody's gonna say anything.
But so you can see that's a pretty big jump. So, we know jumps are gonna happen, but so that's why we think the 10-year lifespan is a reasonable
Yeah,
expectation.
okay.
I'm sorry, Amy.
Okay, so I think most of you know I work for the Dayton Development Coalition, and we do get questions sometimes from businesses as well as local governments, not the 7 that are working on this project, but asking how to do it. Is it okay to share this information outside of this group for other, because this is really a model for regional collaboration. Is it okay to share this information?
Sure, yeah,
and
this
stuff?
is public information.
And they could contact you, other local governments, if they have questions, if, because one of the paragraphs that you say, eventually this could be a way to generate revenue and have other nonprofits and government entities participate. So
Mhm.
this is
Sure.
fair
they wanna-
game to spread the news about this program.
Right. Again, like I said, we haven't finalized all the details yet, but we are getting there, and the costs are getting down so much now that it just looks like a real probability that we can get this done at minimal cost, and when you really look at the cost of this.
Thank you.
Do you have any time frame that you might hear from the schools that you mentioned?
Yes, we hope to hear from the schools within the next 30 to 45 days.
Okay, and then, I know you mentioned that you're still finalizing the cost due to obviously many factors. Have you done any research on what the savings would be to each city? I know it can't be exact, but at least some estimates on what each city's gonna get out of this?
Well, we have provided the cities with an initial estimate of the savings that they could see from having this joint network. Part of the thing, though, for me, it's hard for me to answer that what it would be saved in each city directly, because there is the initial upfront cost. And how that's gonna be divvied up between each city, those calculations or those formulas are still being debated and trying to determine which is the best. In other words, in some fashion, you could argue an equal share. In others, you could say, wait a second, it needs to be weighted in some fashion or the other because of population or size of the organization, or how much line is being contributed. So there's all these factors that, while there's an idea, there's a consensus building on a formula, it hasn't been finalized yet. So it's hard for me to say how much. The other thing is that as we get other people to join this group, the costs drop. And so then we have to determine how do those costs get dropped? Do they get dropped in the initial, to pay for debt service, to pay for the initial development? There is going to be some maintenance charges on this line. So do we just say, okay, we're going to lower the maintenance cost? Do we say how much of it we put aside, or that maybe on any extra money we put aside towards capital replacement of this system? So those are kind of hard answers for me to provide to you today, because until those formulas or decisions are made, I can't tell you how much Oakwood would save or how much additional they'll pay for getting the better service, because that is part of what this is. We're looking at cost savings as best we can, but what we're also looking at is cost avoidance and better service and better quality of the broadband. Because each of the cities, as time goes on, the 20 megabyte service is just not going to work for them. Just like it's for us. I mean, we have here at MVCC, we have a bigger strength of service because of these meetings that go out. They take a lot of broadband. But even we're starting to see some issues with ours. So some of it's cost avoidance too now.
Okay, but your plan is to have, whenever it is, I mean, I know there's things you're waiting on, but is to have a plan where it says, this will be your cost, and should be what your savings, and then this will be your ongoing maintenance on top of paying back the loan. We'll have all that broken down.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because I understand why you can't commit to any numbers, which is fine. It's just that it does seem rather vague, and I know when it's time, I know my council's gonna wanna see some numbers.
Yes, sir.
So, especially since we have a lot of, network already in place.
Yes,
So,
sir.
okay, good,
It's-
thank you.
And like I said, the nice thing about this is that, and part of the reason why we're having the difficulty is that the closer we get to doing this, the smaller the numbers get.
Right.
And so we have provided each of the managers with worst-case scenarios, and told them to look at it that way. But, you know, as each group comes in, you know, for instance, when we first were doing this, we never dreamed of that Washington Township may be a partner in this. We just weren't aware of what they were talking about, or even potentially considering. And so we never, while we did think we could get the schools involved, Washington Township just never hit the radar. So it's such a moving target. Unfortunately for this organization and its members, that target is shrinking and rather than growing, which is what usually happens in construction projects. You know, usually you start off with something, an estimate, and then it ends up, well, we had a couple $100,000 in overruns. Well, it's going the other way. So that's at least the positive part about not having a set target this time, or at least knowing that the target's shrinking.
Brian, a quick question with respect to having the other entities participate, such as the schools, Centerville Kettering, and Washington Township. How would their expenses be? I mean, there's an underlying expense to MVCC of which these entities are not members. Would they be absorbing a certain expense associated with, I guess, the management of that operation, the functioning of that, working out all the arrangements, or would they essentially be basically tagging along at the same rate as the member cities?
Well, again, that's one of the other things that's being finalized. I will tell you that most of the thought would be is that we're going to sell them service, basically. So they won't necessarily have, they may not necessarily have a place at the table to make policy decisions or to have any other impact on the line. They're just going to be a customer. And so they'll be providing upfront funds to us, basically buying that, and we'll use that to help bring down the cost of the whole project, so, which reduces the cost to all of you. There may be, while there is a possibility, there may be somebody who wants to become an owner in that case. We talked about, yes, there's going to have to be some buy-in or a higher rate or something, as you said, that'll help manage the overhead costs. But those are, again, we're finalizing those as well. And that's the hard thing about this is that because of the loan deadline, the application deadline, I should say, we might not have every last thing nailed down because, again, this thing keeps moving. It's been such a moving target. It's kind of hard to get our hands on as tightly as we'd like to. It's not like paving the street. The street's there. We know what needs to be done, and we can pretty well figure out what the cost is. This is a case where everybody, once they hear about this, they're starting to knock on our doors, or we're knocking on a door just out of curiosity, and all of a sudden we're getting interested. So it's just been that hard. So some of this stuff we may not have totally nailed down, but we will before the deadline, because the deadline is may push us. But that doesn't mean that we would actually sign any we'll have, before we sign any loan documents or whatever, that will all be there.
Well, you know our position of our city manager.
Yes, sir.
About relationships of that sort, and he's probably expressed his concern. But as Rob said, there would be concern with our council about how that is established, primarily because of relationships and how much we contribute to general funds of townships and things of that sort. That is constantly an issue with the city manager and also the council. So if that's being looked at, that's great.
Yes, we are looking at that to make sure that it's not just well, we're putting all this money in and somebody's getting a discount basically by coming in at the last minute. So. Any other questions on that one before we move on?
I think I can tell you that one school board member, one of the schools mentioned here will at least ask the question. how are we coming with this? So, see how soon they're gonna get back to you.
And I can say, I don't think we've gotten the final word, but they have said basically they're in.
And they,
Yes. So, but like I said, I'm not saying that's the final word, but that's the intent.
but they've been part of that process.
Yes. Well, the school official,
Yeah, right.
they have to bring it back.
Yeah, we haven't had anything on the board for it. We will when the final happens.
And the nice thing about this is that for our partners, like the schools and potentially Washington Township, is that while we're setting this up, this is gonna be win-win. So they're gonna see, those people are gonna get involved because it is significant savings to them.
Mhm.
And we're gonna be able to, put this system in at a much lower cost to the members. Okay, thank you. I'll move on then. As Mayor Compton mentioned about Centerville City Manager Greg Horn, he's retiring, as you all know, in early July. And with that retirement, the position of the NBC delegate to the Montgomery County Regional Radio Council will become vacant. West Carrollton City Manager Brad Townsend, who currently serves as the alternate delegate, has volunteered to step up to the delegate's position. The GovTech members are responsible to make a recommendation for filling these slots, but have not yet been able to advise who should fill the alternate spot, primarily because the remaining members are delegates or alternates for their respective cities. So, but as the next regional radio council meeting is in July, and there may not be a council meeting until after that meeting, I'm asking that the council designate Manager Townsend as the new MVCC delegate during the business portion of this meeting, and we will bring a recommendation for the alternate slot at the next MVCC meeting. And with that, that concludes my report for GovTech.
Very good. Moving on to staff reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and this one will be much shorter. First off, it's that time of year where we review and renew our property and liability insurance policies. This year, we've broadened our search for insurance providers, and we are pleased to report that we were able to reduce our primary policy rates by almost $9,000, or about 23%. Coverages for the new policy are comparable or better than the old policy as well. So it's not that we're just getting a lower cost, but a cheaper policy would also be a better policy. So I want to thank Business Accounting Supervisor Lee Pierce for her work on getting these rates. The council needs to approve our renewal, and the resolution to accomplish this is included on today's agenda during new business. As I previously reported, speaking of Lee, she and Engineering Supervisor Rich LaRue will be both leaving our organization through retirement within the next few weeks. I have been spending much of my time in the recruitment process to fill these important positions. We have made a tentative offer of employment to someone to succeed Rich, and I hope to have that process finalized by the end of the month. We are in the interview stage for Lee's successor and hope to have that position filled by mid-June. I will inform you of both of these hires as soon as they are finalized, and I will also have them available to meet you at the next council meeting. And lastly, with the summer months approaching, we are making our plans to participate in various community events in our area. Look for us at the Spring Fling, Americana, and Holiday at Home parades, the Americana Festival, and other events that we get invited to or wrangle permission to participate. If you have or know of an event that we can join, please let us know, as we are continuing our efforts to increase awareness and recognition of the NBC brand. With that concludes my staff report.
Very good. Today, we have no old business to conduct. We do have some new business. The first item is Resolution 2017-07. It's our 2017-2018 property and liability insurance. Based on Mr. Humphreys's staff report, I would recommend that we introduce this and move for its adoption.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on Resolution 2017-07. All in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Very good. We have a new agreement. We thank Mrs. Pierce for participation in this. It sounds like a great deal. Our second item of new business is the appointment of a delegate to the Montgomery County Regional Radio Council. As you heard during our reports, Mr. Townsend of West Carrollton has agreed to serve. I'm going to talk to him about volunteering for things. But he would like to serve, and I would like to have a motion that we might appoint him as delegate.
I move we appoint West Carrollton City Manager Brad Townsend to the Regional Radio Council.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the appointment of Mr. Townsend to the Montgomery County Regional Radio Council signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Break the news to Mr. Townsend. There's no further new business today. At this time, I often ask, is there anything else to come before the council today? Yes,
Me, the only one.
you would be the one. Please introduce yourself and tell us, where you're from.
I'm Mark Stabler. I live in West Carrollton. I just happened to see an article in the paper about the meeting today, so this is kind of short notice for me. I want to make a few comments about the street lighting program. As you guys upgrade all your street lighting to LED lighting. Normally when I talk to individuals, I make up little information packets, but I only had one left because this is kind of spur of the moment. This is the same one I dropped off a long time ago that you have. But I'm also a member of the Miami Valley Astronomical Society. We're a nonprofit organization that's been in the Dayton area for like 100 years in some form or another. I think we were started by like Deeds or Patterson or one of the famous old guys. But one of our projects we're undertaking now is a light pollution program, and we're starting an educational program. And one of the things that we're doing is working with local communities as they upgrade their street lights to the LED street lights. If you go out and Google bad street lighting or bad street lights, you'll see many horror stories about cities that have just jumped on the bandwagon, and they'll do things like instead of replacing just 5 lights, they'll say, oh, these LED lights are so much cheaper, we're going to put in 50, and they'll use the wrong kind of lights and not really put them where they should. And you'll find horror stories like Davis, California installed 650 new LED street lights, but they used their own kind. And by that I mean they weren't fully shielded, so a lot of the light, instead of going down, was going out, and they used the bright white lights instead of the softer lights. So it's they contain a lot of blue light, so it's a lot harsher. So after they put in 650 new ones, their citizens rebelled, and they had to spend $350,000 to go back and change them all out. So as a club, we're working with an organization called the International Dark Sky Association, and they have all kinds of brochures, light pollution, I'll leave these here, light pollution and waste money. They've done studies about outdoor lighting, crime and safety, where they've shown that just throwing light on the subject really doesn't deter crime. If you go out to their website, they have a wealth of information out there, and one section is devoted for lighting for policymakers. And I printed a lot of information off of that on here, in here. And if you go out there, they'll have a whole section like on street lights, not just street lights, but outdoor lighting in general, the good kinds and the bad kinds. And really the good kinds, all the dark sky people just recommend really only 2 things. They're not against LED street lights or LED outdoor lighting, but they recommend that all lighting be 100% shielded, so all the light that goes down, because any light that goes sideways or up is just a waste of taxpayers' money. And they also recommend that you use the soft white LED lights, If you go to like Home Depot, you can pick up an LED light. Just like fluorescent bulbs, it'll say like cool white or soft white. And I know the guys in the studio can show you the difference between, if you're not familiar with color temperatures of bulbs, you know, the bright white lights are 6,000 degrees, and they contain a lot of blue light, which the American Medical Association has actually determined as a health hazard at night. And so they can show you the difference between like a soft white and the bright white. And on that same website, they actually have a model lighting ordinance, a user's guide. So I think Beaver Creek is the only place around here that actually has a lighting ordinance. There's a lot of information on here. And I thought this would really be handy for cities like West Carrollton and Miamisburg, as you guys start to develop the riverscape area. You don't want businesses and other people going in there and throwing so much light that, you know, people will be sitting outside and they go, well, I can hear the river, but I can't see it, you know, because there's just so much light out there. And I know Kettering's going through, you're going to upgrade a whole bunch of lights in the future. So.
I've had a couple of citizens contact me, and they were upset with the current lighting. And when they changed the bulbs, they contacted me and asked me if they could do away with the lights.
The new ones?
Yeah, altogether. And I told them, just wait and see how these work out for you. And I never heard anything back from any of them, so I assumed all that lighting, you know, is directed down toward the street now, you know, instead of out into their homes.
It's hard to say. I know West Carrollton's got a couple of them. They're on King Richard, some trial LED lights. And unless you really know what you're looking for, when I looked at them, I took some pictures, and I kind of noticed that, one, they are much brighter as you're driving by. It kind of, you know, as you come up to it, it looks like there's more light leaking out the side than it should be. So really, as you drive around town, you can kind of spot bad examples of the West Carrollton. There is right there in front of the I think it's the senior center. So they have just those the globe lights on a stick, and they have them all down there. And I mean, they're decorative and they're nice, but they really don't do anything. I mean, it kind of shines in your eyes as you're driving. And if you think of scenarios like, well, if there's a police officer chasing a bad guy and he's got to go like this as he's, you know, going through somewhere, and there's all these lights are shining in his eyes. And, so yeah, that's what, as you guys go through your programs and you're dealing with DP&L and Miami Valley Lighting, it would be great if we could work with them, but you know, so they would give rebates to the proper lights. Just keep that in mind as, you know, you start putting, and it's not just street lights, but like I said, all outdoor lighting, not necessarily for cities, but any of the new buildings, new industry companies that are going in there, as far as
You know, I live exactly at my driveway. The end of my driveway is right across the street from a pole that's got one of the new lights on it that Kettering put in the last year or whatever amount of time it's been. And I thought it was a great addition to what was there before. To me, the light spreads out a little bit on Patterson Boulevard, but it doesn't go this way. It just illuminates the street, which is a good idea, I think. And so it's pretty much like that all the way down the road, both ways, at least in the stretch where I live in West Kettering. So I think at least what happened on that street, I can't see where it's anything but a plus as to what has happened. Particularly from a security standpoint.
Yeah, but we gotta get that word out to the citizens.
Yeah, especially like if you West Carrollton, you've only got one stretch of a city or the street, and so you may not notice it until you replace all of them, and then people start taking notice. And if it's on a main street like Stroop Road, Far Hills, you're not going to notice it as much as through the residential areas. You know, you take the old Cobra light, it's kind of, what is it, sodium, it's not real pure white. You replace that with a bright white one, and if it's not shielded, now people are going to notice it more because it's shining in their their bedrooms, or,
Another question, were you ever employed at the city of Kettering?
my dad was for like 30, 35 years.
Yeah, he was a city engineer.
Yeah.
When we had a Stabler on the police department, he was his
That was
son.
my brother.
That was your brother, okay.
I think I have a cousin that's a judge.
Okay. You look like your dad, then.
All right, I would just make one suggestion, because I happen to know you live in West Carrollton. Take a ride down Lindbergh some evening after
Lindbergh?
dark. Uh-huh. And they replaced all of the lights on Lindbergh with LED as part of a trial. So it might give you an idea of how they're shielding and so forth, and I think you'll find that they're at least attempting to look at these guidelines that you're suggesting today.
And I suggest you go on South Patterson Boulevard from Shantz Avenue south.
And it's
same
not so
thing.
much like they said, it's not the LEDs, it's the color. If they're already putting in like the softer white, or then you're not gonna have a problem. The bright white ones there are kind of comparable to those xenon light bulbs on the luxury cars, those high intensity discharge, the ones that blind you from a mile away as you're driving down the road, and it's got that intense white where you kind of have to look away. That's kind of what the LEDs, and as long as they're shielded and pointing down. But I see so many places around here where you got a company will be trying to light their parking lot, but the light kind of just, it lights everything else but the parking lot. So it's,
All right. Well, thank you for coming in today.
all right, thanks for letting me speak.
Okay.
If you have any questions, I can stick around later.
You're gonna leave some information?
I'll leave it all.
Thank you very much. Is there anything else that needs to come before the council today? Okay, being none, then I would move for adjournment. Thank you very much for attending, and I would remind you that unless you get a special invitation for, some emergency legislation that we need to pass, this will be our last meeting until September.
Okay.
So keep an eye on your emails, though, because it sounds like Brian's got some things in the work that we may have to have a summer meeting. So thank you very much for attendance, and I'll see you all in September.
Everybody have a good summer.
Yeah.
Amy, too.
Lee had a last minute thing pop up. We bought her a cake. So if you'd like to get a piece of cake anyway, of Lee's cake.
Okay,
before you
George
leave.
asked me a couple of meetings ago.
Also, I think Rich
he
is
will not
here.
run
He's,
for office again.
so if you want to say
But he
goodbye
would
to
like
Rich,
to stay on this
he'll be in
council.
here to get a piece of cake.
I wanted to know if he was